told your friend you're not okay.
Hello K-pop news fam, welcome back. Today, the internet is absolutely on fire. All platforms, from X, Instagram, TikTok to community forums, are flooded with one name that has instantly dominated global trending lists, Taeyong. Not because of a comeback, not because of a new project, but because of one statement that has silenced the entire Korean entertainment industry. Amidst the heated legal battle between Hybe and Min Hee-jin, the public was suddenly shocked by the emergence of a KakaoTalk conversation involving Taeyong. No one expected that a personal conversation would appear in official court documents. Big questions arose: how could a private conversation become legal fodder without the consent of those involved? Speculation immediately ran rampant, the atmosphere filled with assumptions, until finally, with his characteristic calm, Taeyong delivered his own statement. However, what captivated the public was not the content of his message, but the way he delivered it. He did not blame anyone. He did not respond aggressively. He did not add to the drama. He simply emphasized one fundamental principle: consent is non-negotiable. A conversation that should have remained personal was used without his permission, and that made him uncomfortable. It was a simple answer, but one full of moral weight. Behind his calm words, the public saw something much bigger. Many idols choose to remain silent when involved in sensitive situations, especially when it comes to legal cases. However, Taeyong broke the mold. She spoke not to defend herself, not to attack anyone, but to assert her privacy boundaries. Analysts consider this attitude a form of elegant, strategic, and very mature public communication. She reprimanded without scolding. She stated her boundaries without escalating the conflict. And precisely because of that, her message resonated even more strongly. The media and industry observers say that Taeyong's move is a high-level example of how a public figure should deal with a crisis. He did not allow his name to be used for the interests of any party. However, he was also careful not to embarrass or bring down other parties. He managed to maintain a fine line that is usually difficult for public figures to navigate with precision. It was this calmness that triggered an extraordinary wave of reactions. Hashtags related to Taeyong's courage appeared, filling global timelines. Fans praised his mature, professional attitude, which was different from most idols who chose to remain silent. Many felt that for the first time, an artist was talking about the ethical limits of using private conversations without sparking additional scandals. It didn't stop there. Taeyong's voice sparked a broader discussion. To what extent is the privacy of idols valued in the digital age? Can personal conversations be used freely in legal proceedings? Where is the line between public interest and individual rights? Without intending to be a symbol, Taeyong suddenly became an important representation for many public figures who often cannot control how their personal content is used by others. One of the most interesting things is the timing of his statement. When public opinion was running wild, a single sentence from him was enough to stop the wave of rumors. Not with anger, not with excessive clarification, but with honesty conveyed in a very calm tone. This is what many experts call a high-level response, a mature reaction that does not add fuel to the fire, but instead extinguishes the turmoil. Fans also saw another side of Taeyong. Behind the spotlight, fashion, or her trend-setting lifestyle, they witnessed the emotional maturity of someone who understands the consequences of every word. There was no frustration, no emotional outbursts, only reasonable concern and clear ethical affirmation. Cultural commentators noted that at a relatively young age, she had shown unusual self-control. Slowly, public focus shifted away from the Hybe versus Min Hee-jin issue and toward a much larger theme: artists' right to privacy. Without meaning to, Taeyong shifted the narrative to a discussion about professional boundaries, personal dignity, and how the industry should respond to the use of personal material in a legal context. Analysts even believe this move strengthens his position in the long run. In an industry that is highly sensitive to public opinion, consistency in personal values is an invaluable asset. What is clear is that he is not speaking to win the conflict. He is speaking to defend his personal space as a human being. Something that is often forgotten by many people when they see an idol only as a star. And for that reason, respect for him has only grown stronger. After Taeyong's statement calmed the public uproar, a new dynamic began to emerge. The media began to dig deeper, not to seek sensationalism, but to understand how an artist could become a point of balance amid the turbulence of the industry. Many observers began to assess that Taeyong's attitude actually presented a new standard in dealing with issues that touched on privacy. A few days after his statement, the conversation among fans took a different turn. Previously filled with concern, the discussions now felt more mature. Fans began to share their insights on the importance of respecting their idol's personal boundaries, emphasizing that fame is not a reason to sacrifice someone's personal space. They considered Taeyong's courage not just a spontaneous act but a reflection of his long-standing character. Interestingly, a number of journalists from various foreign media outlets began to highlight how her actions indirectly pressured the industry to be more careful in handling personal evidence in internal conflicts. Many said that what happened could set a precedent for how digital conversations should be treated in the context of modern law. Taeyong, without meaning to, had opened the door to a discussion of ethics that was much broader than the dispute that sparked the issue. On the other hand, several figures in the entertainment industry have begun to show a change in attitude. Producers, managers, and entertainment lawyers have expressed their opinion that Taeyong's open but measured attitude is a form of professional maturity that should be emulated. Without drama, without stirring up trouble, but with a big impact. They believe that the ability to assert boundaries without creating friction is a quality that very few public figures possess. Slowly, the narrative about the legal conflict itself began to fade from the center of attention. Not because the case was unimportant, but because the public was more interested in seeing how an artist could stand in the midst of controversy without losing control of herself. While some people were still monitoring the progress of the investigation, the majority focused on the transformation of public opinion about how an idol's privacy should be respected. The most surprising thing was the emergence of solidarity from other fandoms. Several non-fan communities offered their support, praising Taeyong's firmness without aggression. For them, this is a rare example of an artist influencing public discourse not through their work or achievements, but through their moral stance. This situation shows that public appreciation is not only built on stage, but also on a person's sincerity in defending their rights as a human being. Meanwhile, branding analysts assess that this moment could be an important milestone in Taeyong's career. Not in the context of instant popularity, but long-term reputation. A reputation built on integrity is usually much stronger than just a trend. And now, without gimmicks, without any campaigns, he has strengthened that foundation. Remarkably, despite being in the global spotlight, Taeyong shows no signs of wanting to exploit this situation for personal gain. There are no additional statements, no attempts to prolong the conversation. He stays on track, firm, neutral, and focused on the heart of the matter. This is what makes many people see him as someone who is not easily shaken. In an era full of distractions and impulsive responses, his calmness feels like a rare strength. Now the public is beginning to realize that what happened was not just a controversial episode. It is a reflection of how public figures can maintain their integrity without losing empathy. Taeyong shows that one can speak up without destroying, can reprimand without attacking, and can uphold principles without escalating conflict. And this is where the appeal of his story lies. Not in the complex legal debate, but in a figure who is able to stand in the midst of a storm without becoming the storm itself. His calm, clear, and mature attitude has become a magnet that keeps the world watching him. Everyone is now waiting to see what his next move will be, not for the drama, but to see how a public figure maintains his dignity in the most difficult of situations.